Welcome back to Off the Record, the podcast where we talk about music, the stories behind it, and the moments that shaped what we're still listening to today. I'm Amy, and today's episode is heavier than usual, but it's an important one. We're talking about the 27 Club. It's a phrase that's been repeated, mythologized, and sometimes even joked about. But behind that phrase are real people, artists who shaped music in massive ways and struggled deeply while doing it. Today we're honoring the music, acknowledging the reality, and separating the myth from the truth. The 27 Club refers to a group of influential musicians who all died at the age of 27. Over time, it's been framed as a curse or eerie coincidence, but there's no scientific evidence that 27 is any more dangerous than any other age. What is consistent, though, is the environment. Sudden fame, intense pressure, addiction, untreated mental health struggles, and an industry that didn't always protect its artists. Let's talk about the musicians most commonly associated with the 27 Club in the order they died. Brian Jones, 1969. Brian Jones was a founding member of the Rolling Stones and a major creative force in their early sound. He named the band after a Muddy Waters song titled "Rollin' Stone." In the early years, Brian was the leader, booking gigs, choosing material, and shaping the band's direction. Before Mick Jagger and Keith Richards became the primary songwriters, Brian was the band's musical backbone. He was innovative and instrumental, literally, in shaping the band's identity. Brian wasn't just a guitarist, he was a sonic experimenter. He played or introduced slide guitar, sitar in Paint It Black, dulcimer in Lady Jane, mellotron, recorder, harmonica, marimba, Under My Thumb, saxophone, and accordion. This made the Stones' mid-60s records far more textured and experimental than many of their peers. But as the Stones evolved, Brian became increasingly isolated. He struggled with substance use and mental health issues and eventually found himself pushed out of the band he helped create. Brian Jones died in 1969 at the age of 27. His story is a reminder that being essential to something doesn't always mean being protected by it. Next is Jimi Hendrix in 1970. Jimi Hendrix completely changed the way the electric guitar was played. His use of distortion, feedback, and expression reshaped rock music forever, and he did it all in an incredibly short amount of time. He experimented with backward guitar tracks, layered overdubs, panning effect, and unconventional mic placement. Later, these techniques became standard practice in rock production. Some iconic live performances include Monterey Pop Festival in 1967, where Hendrix famously burned his guitar on stage, instantly becoming a global sensation. Woodstock in 1969, where his electric rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner remains one of the most powerful performances in music history. Jimmy's mainstream career lasted less than 4 years, and in that short amount of time, he had multiple albums reach number one internationally, and he became one of the highest-paid live performers of his era. He died in 1970 at age 27. Despite his larger-than-life legacy, Jimmy was known to be searching for peace and struggling with the weight of his success. His influence feels infinite, which makes the brevity of his life even harder to comprehend. Next is Janis Joplin, 1970. Janis Joplin had one of the most unmistakable voices in music history. She sang with raw emotion, not polished, not restrained, and became a symbol of freedom and vulnerability in a male-dominated industry. She gained attention as the lead singer of Big Brother and The Holding Company, and launched a solo career proving that she could stand on her own. Her album Pearl was her second solo album and released after her death, which became her most successful album, hitting number one on the Billboard charts. The Pearl album included Me and Bobby McGee, which became her only number one single. Janis was known for her intensity and emotional honesty on stage. Her performance felt confessional, messy, powerful, and deeply human. Audiences didn't just hear her sing, they felt it. Behind the scenes, Janis struggled deeply with loneliness, insecurity, and addiction. She died in 1970, just weeks after Jimi Hendrix, at the age of 27. Too often, Janis is remembered only for her pain, when she was also powerful, groundbreaking, and fearless. Next is Jim Morrison, 1971. Jim Morrison was the enigmatic frontman of The Doors, becoming one of the most influential and controversial rock acts of the late 1960s. During Morrison's lifetime, he released 6 albums with The Doors, including The Doors in 1967, Strange Days, 1967, Waiting for the Sun, 1968, The Soft Parade, 1969, Morrison Hotel, 1970, and LA Woman, 1971. He brought poetry, mythology, and existential themes into rock music. He blurred the line between performance and self-destruction, often feeling trapped by the persona people projected onto him. Jimmy died in 1971 at age 27 under circumstances that are still debated today. What's often overlooked is that Jim was increasingly uncomfortable with fame and wanted to be taken seriously as a writer, not just a symbol of excess. Next is Kurt Cobain in 1994. Kurt Cobain was the reluctant voice of a generation. As the frontman of Nirvana, Kurt helped bring alternative music into the mainstream, while openly rejecting the expectations that came with that level of fame. Kurt released 3 studio albums in his lifetime with Nirvana, including Bleach in 1989, Nevermind in 1991, and In Utero in 1993. One of the most celebrated live albums to ever be recorded was Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in 1993. It showed a softer, more vulnerable side to Nirvana. Kurt Cobain stood out apart from his incredible vocals by the things he was outspoken about in cultural and social aspects, including feminism, LGBTQ+ rights, anti-racism, and he rejected toxic masculinity within rock culture and called out bigotry in his audience. He struggled with chronic pain, depression, addiction, and the pressure of being positioned as a cultural spokesperson he never asked to be. Kurt Cobain died in 1994 at the age of 27. His legacy is often reduced by how his life ended, when in reality, it was defined by how honestly he wrote, how deeply he questioned success, and how profoundly his music connected with people who felt unseen. Nirvana was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014, and Rolling Stone and other publications consistently rank Cobain among the greatest songwriters and guitarists of all time. Next is Amy Winehouse in 2011. Amy Winehouse brought soul, jazz, and brutal honesty back into the spotlight. She was a once-in-a-generation songwriter with a voice that sounded timeless and deeply personal. She released 2 critically acclaimed studio albums in her lifetime, including Frank in 2003 at the age of 19 and Back to Black in 2006. In 2008, Amy won 5 Grammy Awards in one night for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best New Artist, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, and Best Pop Vocal Album. At the time, this tied the record for most Grammys won by a female artist in a single night. She helped reintroduce British soul music to a global audience. Her lyrics balanced humor, heartbreak, self-awareness, and vulnerability in a way that felt fearless and unfiltered. Amy's struggles were extremely public, often treated as spectacle rather than warning signs. She died in 2011 at the age 27. What makes Amy's story especially difficult is how many people saw her pain and how few truly protected her. Here's the truth. The 27 Club isn't romantic. It isn't destiny, and it isn't a requirement for greatness. These artists didn't become legends because they died young. They were legends before they died. The common thread isn't the number, it's pressure without protection. We keep talking about the 27 Club because the same issue still exists. Unrealistic expectations placed on young artists, mental health struggles being ignored or glamorized, and success being prioritized over well-being. Honoring these artists means appreciating their music and learning from what their lives reveal about the industry. If this episode brings up anything heavy for you, you're not alone. If you or someone you know is struggling, help is available. In the U.S., you can call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, anytime. Thank you for listening to Off the Record. Today, we remember the music and the humans behind it. I'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, keep listening closely.